Hashem's Vasai Tivtach Upi Agito Asacha. We're now in the 7th Perek of Esther. In this Perek, we're going to understand and highlight the idea of the value of good and not good, tov and ra, and what that really means. Vayobo Hamelach v'Haman l'shrot im Esther Hamalka. And so we start off with this dichotomy. On the one hand, Esther, she has a plan, she's doing things, she's organizing her thoughts, she's getting a party together, she has, the foils, she has exactly what, who has to be, where they has to be, what she has to give over to make sure that there's a paranoia that seemingly is going through as she is trying very hard to save her nation. On the other hand, we had Achashverosh and Haman, who had pretty difficult evenings as well. They're both under a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves, and what do? Vayavo Hamelach v'Haman l'shrot. They're drinking. Interesting. But Esther, they go to her, to Esther Hamalka, the queen, and again, anytime that it doesn't say the Melech, it could be talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is illustrating and orchestrating the entire existence of the story, and this parak certainly highlights it. Vayomer HaMelech LaEsther. And so the Melech says to Esther again, Vayom HaSheni, on the second day of this party, of drinking, what do you want? Mashelatich, I'll give you anything you want. And Esther says, if you find favor in my eyes, V'emal Melech Tov. Interesting, the word Tov, right? Not kind, but rather Tov. Tinasin li nafshi b'shelati v'ami bakashati. What will you do? You'll grant my life request and to my people. What now? Sheilati and bakashasi. What are those two things? So one is a small request and one is a large request. For me, it's a small request, but for Mami, it's a bakasha, it's a large request. Gamnim karnu ani va'ami. Because we've been sold, me and my people, lahashmi larog labed, to be destroyed, to be slain, to be exterminated. Now, but if it would have been good for you to be sold as slaves and maidservants, for us to be wiped out, or for a lot of your people to be taken out of the kingdom, then I would have kept quiet. Ki ein hatzar shaveh b'nezek hamelech. I would never do anything to hurt the king. Vayomer hamelech Achashverosh. So what is it? I'm asking you for tov because I am going to be destroyed, me and my people. She puts herself first. That is the epitome of tov, right? She is willing to self-sacrifice. And she uses the exact words that were in the edict. Lashmid larog labid. So I'm putting in front of you, Lashmid larog labid. These are the words. Now, if you do it with tov, then you're going to make sure that Lashmid larog labid doesn't happen, right? And we were sold. Ki ein hatzar shaveh b'nezek hamelach is that if it's not worthy, we said in life, when it's not l'shem shamayim, then it shouldn't happen. And if it happens, right? And so what does Hashem do? He reverses it. So that is how she's presenting it. She's really presenting this to the Melech, but it could be also to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying, wait a second, this is not going to work. If it would be working for you, fine, but it's not going to be working for you. These things are not l'shem shamayim. These are not an edict to help Hashem's name in this world and to raise the world. So it's not going to work. And now we get back to reality. Vayomer hamelech Achashverosh, Vayomer LaEsther Hamalka, the double Vayomer. So what's happening here is that he speaks, and she responds without saying anything, but she just looks like I'm listening to you. I hear you. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to do? And so the idea is that now he's going to get more information. And so now he's learning about who Esther Hamalka is. That Esther comes from Shaul. She is royalty. She is a Jew. The whole shebang. She fills in the pieces that were left not filled in from before. Vatomer Esther East Sar v'oyev Haman hara hazeh. And then now let's go deeper. When she describes Haman, what did she call him? Ra. Bad man. Very bad man. Imagine that's the only adjective used to describe Hitler. He was a bad man. Really? I once had a housekeeper who decided when she quit and also stole things that she would find me, and she came to my car and she wouldn't let me move, and she actually started hitting me. And all that could come out of my mouth at that time was, "You're bad. You're so, so bad." After the fact, I was thinking, that really didn't hit the spot, right? But she calls him just hara. And Haman is petrified. And what does the king do? He does something very interesting. Mr. Impulsive, the guy who doesn't ever react without asking people, instead never comes up with anything good for his own, he leaves. He goes to the garden. And he goes to take a walk. Now that's really not characteristic. So what's going on here? So perhaps, right, that again, we're having a reversal. Everything that we think to be true, unless it's l'shem shamayim, it doesn't work. And so here we have a king, an ineffective king, go out, who usually is impulsive. And what we're going to understand now is that everything that we think to be true, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to be differently, it goes differently. And so the benefit of him going out is when he comes back, we know the famous story that Haman, who's so afraid, and he's begging Esther for forgiveness. The Malach pushes Haman, he falls on the bed, and Achashverosh now is like, this, that's it. Not only are you trying to kill my queen, but now you're trying in front of me to take my queen. This is too much. And Hagam lachboshes hamalka imi babayis hadavar yatsa mipi hamelach lifnei Haman. And so what happens is, he is really angry, and Haman's face gets covered, because in the olden days, when a king, when you were out of grace from the king and he didn't want to hear from you anymore, he covered your face. And so ultimately what we have here is a complete reversal. So what is it about the Tov and the Ra? So really interestingly, Esther Wien mentions that the word Ra it means broken. It means that it wasn't doing its job, the purpose that it was there for. Like, for example, she says, and this is a good mashal, is if somebody gives me a blunted knife, right, and they say, okay, this is a steak knife, then it's very easy to say, well, this is not really a steak knife. This can't be a steak knife. Like, no, it really is. Well, it doesn't have the sharp edges, and it doesn't cut the meat well. So how is this a steak knife? So it's a bad version of a steak knife. So it's bad means that it's broken. It's not able to fulfill its tafkid. Broken, we know from Trua, the broken sounds of the shofar. So we have an idea of broken. So really, Haman was broken. What's broken about Haman? Haman's whole mentality, his whole idea of it's all about me. The whole thing, everything that I need in my life, that I want in my life, that is happening in my life, it's either determined by me or it's for me. And so everything that he did, he couldn't get any joy or satisfaction if someone had more, or if one person in the world was bowing down, or if his plan wasn't going exactly in accordance with how he saw it, because he only saw it one way. And when we're younger, that's how we see things, only one way. Remember, like surface level, it's just concrete. Right? A kid was going to cry so hard that you didn't let them run into the street. Oh my gosh, could you not see that maybe that's dangerous? No, but you didn't let me run. They don't see it except the way that they wanted it. Now Esther negated herself, sacrificed herself, sees the larger picture, helps her nation. That is the Tov. That's the only way to be. The only way to be is not to go with you are the determining factor of everything that you do, but Hashem, that there's a bigger power, the Melech. And so if it's good for the king, then it's good for me. I follow the Torah, and then I benefit from it. I benefit from a life that has value, not because I gave it value, but because I'm following in that which Hashem put value, and that allows me to have simcha and good things and be happy and be fulfilled. And so she is living this life of emunah and for the right reasons and in the right way. And everything, if it's good for the king, it's good for me. Haman is, if it's good for me, I'm going to try to manipulate the king to do what I want him to do. And I'm going to do what I want irrespective of what's good for the king, irrespective of what's good, right? Because if he really thought about it, right, it didn't benefit him to kill out all the Jews. They were helpful people. They could have benefited him. He could enslave them. He could put them to work. He could put them as the think tank for everything. He could put them in the army. If he really cared about the king, and if he really cared about the long-term picture, the big picture, he only saw things short-term. And so for that reason, he's broken. And so there's no spot for broken, narcissistic, all about me, my hand is what controls the world mentality. And so he falls on the bed. He created his own reality, which was ultimately his downfall. He created the idea of Achashverosh used to just listen to everybody, and he created the idea, no, I'll be your best advisor. And then he gave the worst advice. He got embarrassed by one idea, and then he's like, don't have Vashti, have a beauty queen and have a lovely queen, and the Esther that came from that horrible idea is the one that ultimately was his downfall. Everything turned against him because he only saw what was good for him, and ultimately that turned and flipped against him. And so Vayomer Charvona, so now Charvona comes, and it gets even worse, who's one of the Sarisei Melech. Now Charvona was a fair weather friend, I say, which is that he switched sides. First, whoever's on the winning side, that's who he supports. So he sees what's going down. He sees that it's not, and again, that's not, and that is a foil because the idea of Ra or Re'ah, right? What's a real friend? A friend, a re'ah, is someone who is there for you when times are bad, when you're broken. So Charbona, who is not there, he's the opposite. So he sees the eights, he sees the tree that Haman made for Mordechai, and he says, oh wow, look, this is the tree. Haman also made a tree that he was going to hang Mordechai, the guy that is loyal to you. And so what does the Melech say? Tzalu alav, he should be hung. Vayitzluas Haman ala eitz. And Haman and all his aggrandizement and all of his ideas and his narcissism and all of his belief that it's just in my hands and it's all about kavod, he gets hung on that same tree, the eitz asher hachin leMordechai, the tree that he prepared for Mordechai, v'chamas hamelech shachacha. And so now the king is no longer upset. Which king? Hashem. We got rid of the bad guy. We got rid of the guy who was churning everybody against reality. The real reality is the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The reality of what's valuable in this world is that what I can help and be kind and be good, not someone who's looking to go above everybody else. Because ultimately, that's what Haman did. He was hung above everybody else, where everyone could see him. You wanted to be seen. You wanted everyone to be able to look and see you and gawk at you. They are. Yeah, but I don't think that that's really what you wanted. If this is what you wanted, And that's how everything switches around. The Megillah is read on Purim, because Purim is Kippurim. It's like Yom Kippur. It's a day where we can look and see, where are me? Am I a Tov? Am I a Ra? Where's my mentality? What do I really want? Do I want to be high up above everybody else? That's where we go with the gallows. Or do I want to be, among and doing good and doing things l'shem shamayim? And so that's what's so valuable of Purim, which is like Yom Kippurim. And that is another lesson that we're taking from Megillas Esther.